Generate an altruistic motivation for the meditation. And we'll look at the Bodhisattva practice of relying on a spiritual teacher. Unwholesome friends are ordinary people, and wrong teachers. So wrong teachers are those who give instructions that are counter to the paths of a Buddha. So it's very important that we rely on a skilled and realized teacher for all our practices. It's only in that way that we can reach our goals of a good rebirth or liberation or enlightenment. By relying on a qualified spiritual friend, we can generate those paths in our own continuum. It's only by relying on a qualified spiritual teacher that my good qualities will increase. We require teachings that have a depth and profundity in a way that we can meditate and reflect on them. Teachings that are in accord with our capacity and our ability to understand and practice. So we need a skilled teacher to present the path and the stages in developing bodhicitta. And then the subsequent reflections, developing the 6 perfections. For someone to be a spiritual teacher, they need to be able to guide us through their own knowledge and their own experience. Their first concern is to guide us away from habitual negative behavior, and then turn their students towards virtue. The spiritual friend, the spiritual teacher guides us in a way to protect us from fear. They aim to help others, encourage others to have refuge in the 3 jewels. So to do that, a spiritual teacher requires knowledge and skill in how to cultivate the various paths. And they need experience in that cultivation of their own continuum. In that way, their skill and knowledge is developed, and they're able to present more subtle knowledge. And are more skilled in imparting how to practice. In dependence on this, then the students are able to transform their own behavior. Their virtues grow and their faults cease. They experience a happier disposition, and their faith in their teacher increases. So this is a wholesome friend, a wholesome spiritual teacher. By relying on that teacher, our faults diminish and our virtuous qualities increase, like scales with one arm going down while the other one is rising. These two need to be practiced together. So when we make effort over a long period of time, then our ethics, concentration and wisdom grow like a waxing moon. The practice of a bodhisattva is to cherish the spiritual teacher even more than one's body. We need to gain faith of conviction that arises by meditating on the qualities of our teacher. We become less disturbed and more relaxed and stable in our realizations as we recognize the great impact our spiritual teacher is having on us. And also on those around us as we increase our subduing of our mind and our qualities of loving kindness and compassion. We understand it is through following the instructions of our teacher and following his advice. And we naturally want to offer in different ways, material things and service, but most of all our practice, which is what the teacher values most. The life-changing decision that all Bodhisattvas make is to reflect on the qualities of the teacher's body, speech and mind. We need to practice in the same way. Reflect on the qualities of the teacher's body, speech and mind, and really see our teachers as inseparable from the Buddha, as ourselves being guided by the Buddha. We see that our teacher is fulfilling the actions of all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. He's helping sentient beings, guiding them from their faults, helping them develop qualities. We have a perfect human rebirth and are under the care of a qualified spiritual teacher. And if we have the conviction that our spiritual teacher has the ability to guide us to Buddhahood, then we can be confident that we will achieve the result and be able to lead others to that state as well. We need to hear these instructions repeatedly, reflect on them repeatedly, and meditate on them repeatedly, so that conviction arises very strongly and our confidence increases. Then we really have a good practice to offer to our teacher, applying ourselves to ethics, patience, joyous effort. And we become an example to our Dharma friends around us. We become more confident in training in the ways of a bodhisattva. And through repeated practice, we're able to interact with others around us in a way that has great meaning. When our goal, our destination, is the distant shore of liberation, we need an experienced traveller, a qualified spiritual teacher, to reach there. Understanding this and having found a qualified teacher, then we need to really rely and follow that teacher with conviction. It is our own spiritual teacher that can guide us in developing the unmistaken paths to the distant goal of Buddhahood. So then the seventh practice of a bodhisattva is taking refuge in the three jewels. Going for refuge also has the meaning of going for protection or going for assistance or help to the three jewels. Worldly gods are still trapped in cyclic existence. They don't have any Arya paths in their continuum. So while they have great power, they can't guide us to liberation or enlightenment. So when we seek assistance or help or protection, we need to turn to the appropriate refuge, the three jewels. They're a valid refuge and provide the protection we need and desire. For Buddhists, there are only three objects of refuge and no more. The Buddha jewel is a teacher of refuge who presented the Dharma. A Buddha with his perfected qualities and being free of all faults can guide beings no matter what their disposition, what their situation. And he can guide them in their short and long-term aims. A Buddha is a perfect guide and can lead us to attain the perfect results of Buddhahood ourselves. The Sangha jewel are Arya beings. The Sangha jewel are our Dharma friends who guide us directly. Whereas the Dharma jewel is the actual refuge, and it refers to the true cessations and true paths. So the Dharma jewel is the realizations and the cessations that are in the continuum of the Buddha jewel and the Sangha jewel. So we can see how the Dharma jewel is the actual refuge, the actual protection that we need to develop in our own minds. As we think about the three objects of refuge and their differences and the way that they help, then our faith in the three jewels grows stronger. Our trust in them and our reliance on them gains great strength. So how do we go for refuge? What are the causes for refuge? The causes of fear of the suffering of samsara. through understanding the extensive and numerous sufferings within samsara, we develop a wish first to be free of the lower realms, and then to be free of the whole of samsara. When we develop that strong desire, when we examine, well, who can free me from samsara? Then we reflect on the qualities of the three jewels and gain very strong conviction that they have the ability to protect us from suffering. By relying on the three jewels, we will develop the Dharma jewel, the true protection in our own continuum. So we train in refuge by hearing and reflecting and meditating on these topics. By repeatedly engaging in those tasks or practices of hearing and reflecting and meditating on all the topics of the Bodhisattva path, we become a Sangha jewel and then a Buddha jewel. So we need to enter the Mahayana path by developing bodhicitta, and on that basis then practicing the actual six perfections, applying oneself. And then we're able to help others go for refuge as one develops. One becomes a beneficial presence in the life of others and helps them also go for refuge to the three jewels. One becomes an invaluable example for them, guiding them to refuge in the three jewels and to actually develop the Dharma jewel in their own continuum. All the Bodhisattvas of the past have practiced like this. And we too need to follow in the same way. As we develop our practices and follow the well-explained advice of our teachers, it becomes very easy then to keep the precepts of refuge. So then to conclude, Janjub Semcho Rinpoche Make Panyam Ke Gushe Ke Panyam Pa Me Payam Gong Ne Gong Du Pel Ba Shu